What's up YouTube, this is Bison X79 guys, today I'm coming to my latest deck profile video for April 2021. And today guys, we're going to be looking at my Domain Monarch deck. Guys, Domain Monarch's one of my favorite Monarch builds of all time, just the way it can hold your opponent down from not special summoning from the extra deck, locking off of monster effects, and even protecting its own resources. The deck does a lot. It has a very classic feel with the whole tribute summon mechanic, but it can also combo off, allowing you to get some pretty big fields on board to swing for some big damage. So it's old school with a new school feel to it. So yeah, definitely it's one of those decks that kind of straddles the older version of the game as well as the newer version of the game. I really prefer this deck the way it's built. Managed to get a lot more draw power into this because we are at full power with Domain Monarchs, and I can tell you right now, the deck works. It's not brick narcs that much anymore, so let's just jump right into this. We're going to start off with the monsters, of course. 3 copies of Aether the Heavenly Monarch. Alright, Aether, very awesome level 8 monster. Has a quick effect that during your opponent's turn you can actually discard a Monarch spell and trap card from your hand to tribute summon this card during your opponent's turn, which is just awesome. On tribute summon, you can turn and send 2 Monarch spell and trap cards from your deck to your graveyard, just setting up further plays to be able to search other resources or even get more tribute fodder onto the field, which is just great. And I can tell you right now, when you use her effect, you also get another monster that's either 2800 attack or 2400 attack and 1000 defense onto the field. So she is the one that's going to be building your board and getting you those additional cards. Bad news is that if you can't finish off the turn, the monster you summon off of her effect is bounced back to your hand. But then again, you have that card in your hand, so you can summon it later on your following turn. So definitely, it is she's worth having at 3 in this deck. Next up, we have our counterpart. 3 copies of Erebus, the Underworld Monarch. On tribute summon, you can actually, again, send 2 Monarch spell trap cards from your deck to your grave. And you're either spinning a card from your opponent's field back to their deck, or doing the same thing to a card in their hand back to their deck. Very useful, especially if you can do it on turn 1, because you can leave your opponent with 1 card down in their starting hand, which is a little bit there, in my opinion. Erebus has a graveyard effect that can allow you to basically discard a Monarch spell and trap card from your hand to kick back a Monarch type monster with 2800 attack or 2400 attack and 1000 defense back to your hand, which is actually very good. It can come in handy if you need to recycle some another monster that I have in this deck, but very awesome. Not only that, but also both of the level 8s have the ability to tribute summon themselves by only using a tribute summon monster that's on the field, so you don't have to build so many resources to get them out. Very good cards, in my opinion. We're going to go into the engine pieces now that can help you get your big boys out of the field. And we have 3 copies of Eddie, the Heavenly Squire. On summon, she's going to summon another monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense to your field. Very awesome. And if she's ever sent to your graveyard and you have a banished Monarch spell and trap card, you just take that card and add it to your hand. That spell and trap card and add it to hand, which is actually very good. You can get a lot more use out of cards like Pantheism with her hand in the graveyard. And the monster that I like summoning off of Eddie's effect is 3 copies of Eidos. I know a lot of people might run 2 Eidos and 1 Mithra, but I always felt that Mithra was more or less one of those cards that were better off in the extra deck version of Monarchs, where you're basically turboing out Mega Zabor to destroy your opponent's extra deck. This doesn't do that. In fact, it's actually the version of the deck that's actually holding your opponent down. So, and that's the version I like the better. Eidos allows you to get an additional tribute summon during your turn, which is very huge. And then while it's in the graveyard, you can banish him to special summon Edia from your graveyard, which will then summon another Eidos, and it just gets your engine going very quickly. So definitely worth 3 of in both the situations. For some level 6s, we have 1 copy of Caress, the Light Monarch. Typically, you want to be bringing him off of Aether's effect. When he hits the field, you can destroy 2 cards anywhere on the field, and then the controls of those destroyed cards gets to draw a card for each one destroyed. So typically you want to be destroying your stuff that you don't need anymore to get additional draws. Typically you just pop maybe a Return of the Monarchs or a set Stormforth you don't need, and himself to get 2 additional draws. Because the turn he summoned and uses his effect, he's pretty much a useless lump. He can't attack. Next up, 1 copy of Majesty's Fiend. Majesty's Fiend, this card has a continuous effect when it hits the field. Neither player can activate monster effects, and that means on the field, in the hand, in the graveyard, or even the banish zone. No monster effects, period. If the monster effects are, but those are activated monster effects. If the monster effects are continuous, kind of like Balinks from Salamo Greats, they can still use them. So just keep that in mind. The other thing about it is that it cannot be special summoned from the graveyard, so you won't be able to get it back. However, it does have the stat line of the level 6 Monarch, so you are able to search it out and get it onto your field. So that's why we only run 1 copy. And we can actually dedicate the other copies to Vanity's Fiend. Vanity's Fiend, when it hits the field, your opponent's not neither player is special summoning it, period. Doesn't matter from where. Extra deck, hand, graveyard, banish, no special summons. Very awesome card. Can help you lock down duels just by, with this plus Domain on the field, you pretty much have game. I can tell you right now, very awesome card. Primary reason why we have to run 3 is because you want to see it. You can't search it because it has 1500 defense. I know. Really sucks that it doesn't have that Monarch stat line, but it is what it is. It gets the job done by locking down the duel even further. Okay. Next up, we have 2 copies of Celestial Observatory. Celestial Observatory takes any level 6 monster from your hand, puts it on the bottom of your deck, and you draw 2 cards deeper into your deck. Very awesome, helps you unbrick hands, dig deeper into your deck, and it's just an overall good card. It can combine with Domain of the True Monarch's last effect, which allows you to basically reduce the level of your level 8 down to level 6, so you can actually send those cards back to your deck to draw more. So it's definitely very handy and useful in this deck. This card, when I first saw it, it screamed, use me in Monarch, so definitely something, if you're running a Monarch deck, definitely run it. Alright, and of course, you can't run Domain Monarchs without having 3 copies of Domain in it. Domain, like I said before, it has that level modulation effect for your level 8s, but then again, while this card's in the field, you have a tribute summon monster and no cards in your extra deck. Your opponent's not special summoning from their extra deck, and that's the most terrifying effect because it can just lock down and lock out your opponent from a massive resource that their deck needs to get going. Other thing is that when your tribute summon monsters attack your opponent's monsters, your monsters gain an additional 800 attack. So your 2400s go up to 32, your 28s go up to 36. So you can do some pretty good damage in battles against monsters, but then again, just having a bunch of 2800 monsters and swinging through your opponent's field and hitting their life points, that's going to do a lot. 1 copy of March of the Monarchs. In my opinion, this card is kind of required, primarily because while you have no cards in your extra deck, your opponent's not going to be able to target or destroy your tribute summon monsters with card effects, which can be very awesome. It forces them to attack over, and if they can't get stuff out of their extra deck, or even special summon or use monster effects, they're going to have a hard time getting over your monsters. So, definitely a must-have in your deck. We have 1 copy of 1-for-1. Discard a big monster to get into your Edia, which can start your engine up. Very useful to help blow your graveyard as well. 3 copies of Pantheism. I'm just so happy this card is back, fully off the list. Discard 1 Monarch spell trap card from your hand, draw 2 cards. And not only that, but while this card's in your graveyard, you can just banish it, reveal 3 Monarch spell and trap cards from your deck. They can have all the same names if you want. Your opponent picks one of them to add to your hand, the others are shuffled back into your deck. Very awesome. Eddie hits the graveyard, you can get this card back into your hand very easily. So yeah, you're going to be drawing a one off with this card. Next card, one copy of Reinforcement Army. Eddie is a warrior type monster. It's level 1, so it fits for reinforcements to be able to search her. 2 copies of Return of the Monarchs. Return can basically search out any of your 2400 or 2800 and 1000 defense monsters from your deck when you tribute summon. Very good, can help speed things up a little bit more. But I can tell you right now, the majority of the time I'm just using this guy as fodder for the big Monarchs effects. Three copies of Tenacity of the Monarchs. Flash one of your Monarch cards with 2800 or 2400 attack, 1000 defense, and you're searching your deck for another Monarch spell and trap card that you really need. Get those pieces to build the field. 2 copies of the Monarch Stormforth. I know it kind of seems weird in this deck, but this deck, with the support I put into it, doesn't really need it that much. But it still is a good card because it's a non-targeting card that allows you to tribute off one of your opponent's monsters for a tribute summon. So if you need to bust up the boards, this card can help you do it. And the card that I've been teching in and testing out very well, and it's been working really well, is 2 copies of Trade-In. Now, my entire time of playing this deck, or even looking at other builds, nobody has ever used Trade-In. You have 6 level 8s, one of them with a graveyard effect. I mean, this card can just allow you to set the grave and draw deeper into your deck, so it does make sense. I've had a hand where I was able to summon Aether, get Eidos in the field, Eidos kick back. I'm able to basically, then following turn, discard the Eidos to draw 2 more cards. So it really does help the deck get going and get into its resources really fast. This is definitely a must that should be in all Domain Monarchs from now on. Three copies of Solemn Judgment. This card needs to protect its back row and its field spell, so definitely a 3 of. It can also stop normal summons and the activation of trap cards if your opponent's running them. So definitely, it's a great overall generic protection card that the deck needs. Next up, 2 copies of the Monarchs Erupt. While you have a tribute summon monster on the field, no cards in the extra deck, you basically are locking your opponent out of using monster effects unless they are the monsters are tribute summoned. Just giving you a heads up, if there's no tribute summon monsters on your side of the field during end phase, this card pop itself, which is the primary reason why we are running March of the Monarchs, just to protect your front row, so you can keep this card on the field and active a lot more. And then last but not least, we have the Prime Monarch. Prime Monarch has 2 effects. On field effect, you can recycle your Monarch spells and trap cards from your graveyard back into your deck to draw cards. Very useful. While in the graveyard, you can actually banish another Monarch spell and trap card to special summon it, and it'll be either used as a wall against an opponent's incoming attack, or you can even use it as tribute fodder. So, very useful for the deck in general, and definitely worth having at least 1 copy in your deck. Alright guys, that is it for my Domain Monarch deck for April 2021 format. Guys, I really do hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this on my channel, make sure to subscribe, enable the notifications so you don't miss any uploads. Check out the description box below. Find the links to my affiliates. SideDeckVersus.com will help you build great side decks for any type of tournament, whether you're competing online via simulators or remote duels, or you're going to in-person events. And if you want to buy cards to help you build awesome decks and side decks, check out my TCG Player affiliate link below. Get yourself those cards, help support the channel. It'll be very great. Also, check out my Discord server, join a conversation, we'd love to have you. Follow me on social media, and as always guys, until next time, peace.